we created a report of what the instant had been. It was about creating a collective experience in which work and experience would be the only channels of expression through which you could materialize an ephemeral city, showing the contradictions of the current industrial design. We have a technological constructive system with the application, as I have said, with technology and handicraft, intersections of cylinders and spheres created with strings that would absorb tensions, with organic doors, and with a lot of ingenious inventions. So the challenge was the concept of the instantaneous city, which is an ideological term that is against the city which designs and traces the behavior of its inhabitants, and also the awakening of a new conscience that claims leisure as a product of our current technology to turn it into a specific work of human nature, which is creation. During the conference, the Instant City became an advertising platform. We had millions of photographies, kilometers of film, and the space constructed that acquired a very important formal significance. But there's still a question for the visitors, and something which can be discussed by the delegates of the conference, and the immense work accumulated. We also have 1 million staples that were manually placed, and also the contradiction of a futuristic and the society space and the society in its within. But once inside, the feeling of space escapes the usual. The senses are altered, and the overpressure, which is in principle invisible, creates a certain magical disconcertment. This was published a lot. Maria José Rague said that in Ibiza had replaced the music festivals, Woodstock and others, because design had become and work the center of the meeting of the assembly. You didn't need music anymore. You didn't need any complementary activities. Just the way to do things in the city and to gather was already a manifestation. Quaderns published it, La Vanguardia, Casa Bella, and many other publications. And 40 years later, yes, we have the MACBA, an exhibition that you can visit, in which José María Montaner said the other day in El País about this exhibition, which what is exhibited at the MACBA is the truth, but not all the truth, because the instant was the anti-Congress, and it was born with the idea of not being aggressive, but on the contrary, very kind, very affectionate, very parallel to the Congress delegates, but telling them, look, there is a different way. You don't have to talk so much about whether you need a switch here for the lamp or we need it there, because we're going to talk about other things related to design. Why not? It was nice, it was kind, but within this niceness, there was a counter-proposal to their way of understanding design. And you see the MACBA, for example, the ICSID and the Congress that had absorbed, as José María Montaner said, that the dissidents can be perfectly assimilated. And even indignados, now the outrage always assimilated by someone, by certain political parties or opportunistic people, that turns them into something else. Well, in order to finish this small story, my last minutes, Moses has left me some more minutes in the classroom. We will go then to the CB4. I, for some years, built, amongst other things, some inflatables with some of the people. Fernando went to India with a van. He was 3-4 years in India. Then he went to Egypt. They stole the van from him. He was almost killed. And then I saw him when at the 25th anniversary of the ICSID, the instant. It was a remodelation, and they did it in well. And I called him, and he was in Murcia, and I called him, and he hung out one of those pictures, and we spent 2 wonderful days. It was the last time I saw him. He had an incurable disease, and he had only 20 or 30 days more to live. What are the shadows? The shadows are that There are people, of all the people that did that, apart from Jose Maria Prada, who's still the strong guy, there's nobody left. All the people that went with us are not there anymore. We talked a lot about this story until Iago told me, let it be. You have to tell it as it was. It's not your personal experiment. It's not your own story, your own personal trauma. Tell it as it was. In 71, a history, a story that is worthwhile being told. Well, we created inflatables. This was my first encounter with Benidorm. In a previous one, Prada Pool told us that it wouldn't be inflated because that inflatable was born from two spheres, arises from two spheres, a large sphere which becomes a smaller one. And he said, of course. And then when you do convexities and concavities, and Prada told us it's not going to work, it's going to burst, or it's not going to inflate properly, it will deform. And of course, and it wasn't true. It did form, it did shape, and of course the face of José Miguel when he came to the Feria del Campo in Madrid, it was worthwhile seeing. Iskondel Pavilion commissioned us to do that in the pavilion, and Prada came to see it, and it was a little bit like a prize for us, and that was in Benidorm, and this is very beautiful. And then we started with the domes, but not us, no. I mean, other people and assistants, and this is by Jose Maria Berenguer, the Weiberg, and you know him. It's signed, actually, a little bit of the geodesic domes that he was doing with Fuller, and I had to do something commissioned by Arkia, the Architect Foundation, on Mr. Fuller, because I was passionate of Fuller. I started studying, and then I had and back then I had five books that I was given by my current wife from Hermes, her publishing house, and 5 ways of interpreting avant-garde. And I really treasure them, and I keep rereading them 40 years later. Why? Because beyond the pioneers that we know, Corbusier and Wright and so on, these people have interesting, very interesting interpretations, but you wouldn't understand very much without Tangen, without metabolists and so on. This was the last geodesic that I helped build. And look at what I did back then. I thought, what the hell is going to happen with architecture? Where do we have to go? And that came from what happened in Ibiza. And then I started to gather things and to create this poster. I drew it with Rotring, I copied, and I was making drawings. I show it in pieces because you can see it better. This is the hexahedron by Paolo Soleri, the urban utopia by Feuerstein, the pneumatic cells of Jungmann, the archigram by Peter Cook, Jona Friedman, Cousteau, structures under sea, Mr. Fuller covering Manhattan with a dome of 32 kilometers, Heron, the cities of the Japanese metabolists like Isozaki, Kurokawa. And this is what's going to be the new century architecture. Look how wrong. Nothing, absolutely nothing. Only detached houses with slated roofs. Well, and then I had this study, which was a workshop in the Riera San Miguel, where we worked, and I had to think about, I was working with very close to Bofill. I partnered up with Javier Bagué-Bofill, who left the workshop because he believed, like Ricardo, in that history. And then we went to Caspe Street, and we worked on some other projects, but I wanted to highlight this one, which was a contest for Santiago de Chile in the last days of Allende. When we submitted the exercise, a week after that, Allende passed away. And we did it because you could already see that that regime, that other utopia, was something similar to Ibiza, which was an utopia. And we were militant in that moment, and we said, well, we have to do something for this Chilean. And we have, together with O'Higgins, we created and we submitted our work to this contest with other people from all all around the world. Of course, the contest didn't lead to anything, and I think that after 10 years of military dictatorship of Pinochet, we were sent a letter saying that we had gotten a little prize, but that it was not going to be built. The last picture is this one. Fortunately, I was very paying close attention to what Coderc did. He was signing his houses. I'll tell you about that in another one of the classes. We will talk about typologies, we will talk about Coderc. And then in the 60s, I had the occasion with a friend who was a constructor to build these houses in San Just. They're still there, actually. 40 years have gone by, and they're made of bricks. They're very similar to Coderc's typology. Yes. Okay, this has been the class. Now we're going to go to CB4 because we are going to introduce ourselves as teachers that we're going to have, and we will start to create the groups. And the topic will be given to you on Wednesday, the day after tomorrow, and Ana Soler, together with all the teachers. Well, Ana, well, we believe that it's beautiful, that you're going to have fun, that you're going to have a very fun year. Welcome, and I hope that you have a blast this year. You're going to, I'm sure, have a very good time this year.
Carlos Ferrater, estudiant d'arquitectura, va ser l'encarregat per l'ICSID, junt a Fernando Bendito, de dissenyar una ciutat efímera a la Cala San Miguel per acollir els estudiants que assistien al Congrés. Autor també del manifest de la Instant City.
Uns estudiants d'arquitectura, Fernando Bendito i jo, vam pensar en la possibilitat d'aprofitant que es tenia que fer un càmping pels estudiants al Congrés de setembre a octubre d'Ibiza i vam demanar al FAT que ens deixés organitzar aquell càmping. A partir d'aquí vam fer un manifest que parlava de la metamorfosis dels déus. Ho vam enviar a tot el món, a les universitats lliures, americanes, Califòrnia, d'Estocolm i de tot el món, i vam tenir una resposta fantàstica. Els vam dir que faríem una ciutat en l'acte, la faríem nosaltres mateixos amb la nostra feina, i veuríem uns dies de happening absolut, a la manera com ja el maig del 78, Woodstock i altres situacions s'havien produït en el món. Bé, vam treballar i vam tenir la sort que Euskaltel, una multinacional, ens va demanar una prova, van fer un inflable a la seva fàbrica a Cerdanyola i ens van donar tot el plàstic que necessitàvem. Amb això ens vam anar cap a Ibiza i va venir molt de gent de tot el món. I va ser uns dies magnífics en què tothom se va posar a treballar amb una fantàstica il·lusió.
Se iban a copiar materiales como uralita, como madera, de tal manera que cada uno cogiera lo que quisiera. Y yo, según me iban hablando, se me iba despertando la imaginación, algunos de los trabajos que yo había hecho también dentro de este mundo iluso, yo pensaba entonces en lo que yo llamaba una ciudad con pisadas de gaviota. ¿Qué es una ciudad con pisadas de gaviota? Pues esto que hablamos ahora de una ciudad que no tenga residuos, que no deje rastros, que cuando se levanten ni siquiera los arqueólogos puedan encontrar nada en el futuro, porque no haya nadie. Y entonces, pensando un poquito en esto, yo les dije, pero bueno, y para todo eso que queréis hacer, ¿cuánto dinero tenéis? Y me dicen, pues no tenemos nada. Y digo, ¿nada? Y entonces, ¿con qué demonios vamos a hacer todo eso que queremos hacer? Si eso es imposible. Y entonces, como estábamos hablando en principio parece de sueños, digo, pues mira, de la única manera que podemos construir los sueños es con aire. Es decir, con nada, con prácticamente nada. Y entonces, retomando, ya digo, esa vieja idea, fue el pensar que quizá con algo tan inmaterial como era un plástico que entonces tampoco servía absolutamente para otra cosa más que para hacer flotadores de los niños.
Va generar una resposta negativa per part de la gent que va acabar trobant-la una ciutat petit burgesa i se'n va anar a construir amb les deixalles de la Eastern una nova ciutat a la muntanya. D'allò jo crec que avui queda poca cosa, queden moltes anècdotes, queden moltes situacions magnífiques viscudes, molts amics que ens hem retrobat avui, que ha estat estupendo, però jo crec que va ser una mica com el que és un inflable, un globus, no? O sigui, es va punxar, va tenir una mort fantàstica, els pagesos d'Eivissa van tallar amb un cúter els inflables i els van posar als pallers i durant anys a Eivissa es podia veure en el seu paisatge al nord de la illa aquells inflables tallats. Per lo de més, bueno, veure la cara del senyor Reyes d'Iscondel el dia que dos estudiants melanuts i peluts li van demanar no sé quants milions en plàstic i li parlaven de la metamorfosis dels déus.